Welcome back to Bedtime Blocks. Tonight's confession is one you'll want to hear with the lights off and your headphones in. This is the story of a Minecraft player who thought they were alone until they weren't. Strange footsteps, changing blocks, a name tag where there shouldn't be one. So grab a blanket, lie back and let this hour-long story take you deep into the woods. Because in this world, you're never truly playing alone. And if you enjoy creepy Minecraft stories like this, make sure to subscribe for more cabin confessions every night. I've always played Minecraft solo, not because I don't like people, but because I've got this thing about control. When it's just me in the world, everything stays exactly how I left it. No weird blocks moved, no trees half chopped, no random torches tossed around like someone was speed-running chaos. It's peaceful, predictable, mine. That's why the torch by my cabin door messed with me more than it should have. It was a tiny thing, just a single torch placed one block to the left of where I normally keep it. I stared at it for a solid 30 seconds, wondering if I'd misclicked the night before. Maybe I'd been tired. Maybe I was trying to do that corner torch trick where you make a light look more natural. Maybe I forgot, but the thing was, I don't forget, not in this world. This cabin was mine, built block by block, all by memory, from the oak floorboards to the cobblestone chimney. I knew exactly where everything was supposed to be. The torch had moved. Someone moved it. But that wasn't possible. This world was single player. I'd started it offline. No LAN, no realm, no server, just me and the code. Still, I fixed the torch, put it back where it belonged. Then, just to be sure, I checked the settings. Difficulty set to normal. Game mode survival, no cheats, no multiplayer, no open LAN. Everything was locked down like always. I didn't think much of it after that, not until I came back the next day and found my crops harvested. That was when I stopped breathing. I didn't just plant those wheat rows to survive. I built them like art. Symmetrical lines, carefully placed scarecrows made from armor stands and carved pumpkins. Glowstone buried just right so everything looked golden at dusk. The wheat had been fully grown yesterday. Now, most of it was gone, replanted, almost like someone was trying to help, but no one else was here. I opened the chest by the composter. Inside was fresh bread, 3 loaves. I hadn't crafted them, and that's when I started to wonder if I was really playing alone. That night, I tried to brush it off. Maybe I'd played too long the night before. Maybe I crafted that bread and just forgot. Maybe I'd developed some weird sleep mining habit. I told myself anything I could to quiet the unease crawling up the back of my neck, but it didn't work. I started noticing little things. Sticks in my inventory I didn't remember picking up. Torches appearing in caves I hadn't explored yet. A single cobblestone block placed in front of my mine entrance like someone had changed their mind mid-construction. Once, I broke a gravel wall that was clearly natural terrain, except it had a perfectly lit torch embedded inside it. No opening, no cavern, just solid gravel and a torch. It wasn't normal. So I built a tower. I climbed 30 blocks above the cabin, built a small platform, and stood there for a full in-game day, watching, scanning the forest, the rivers, the nearby mountains, looking for any flicker of movement. Nothing came. Except right at sunset, just before I logged off, I noticed a sheep standing perfectly still on the opposite hill, completely motionless. It wasn't eating grass. It wasn't walking. It wasn't even turning its head. Then right before the sun dipped below the trees, it vanished. Not walked away, vanished, like someone had toggled entity invisibility. And when I turned to descend the ladder, I swear I heard footsteps that weren't mine. I didn't play the next day, but by the day after that, curiosity got the better of me. I logged in mid-morning, expecting everything to be the same. Nothing too strange. Maybe a misplaced flower or a torch turned the wrong way. But I didn't expect what I found. There was a name tag, hovering behind a tree. I froze, literally stood there, in-game without moving a pixel. The name hovered just above a birch tree trunk, about 20 blocks away from my cabin. It didn't flicker, it didn't move, it just sat there. White text, no crouching, plain as day. No actual name, just that, 3 symbols, like an emoticon, like someone, or something, didn't know how names worked. I stepped forward, slowly, sword out. I walked toward the tree, careful not to sprint. No name should appear in single player, none. As I got closer, the tag dropped behind the tree. I sprinted the last few blocks, rounded the birch, and found nothing. No mob, no player, no hole, nothing. I checked F3. The world was still single player. I wasn't crazy, but that night I started sleeping with the game music turned off. Because if I listened closely, I could hear footsteps on my cabin's roof. It was raining when I woke up the next Minecraft morning. I love rain in this game. There's something calming about the way it dulls all the usual sounds, like the world is muffled, distant, safe. But this rain made everything feel too quiet, like it was trying to hide something. I went to check my sugarcane farm, and that's when I noticed the lectern. It was just there, in front of my cabin, like someone placed it while I was gone. It had a book. I opened it. There were only 2 lines written inside. Don't sleep with the door closed. He watches through windows. I dropped it instantly and stepped back. I didn't write that. I didn't craft a lectern. I hadn't even found a stronghold yet. Where would I get a book and quill? I broke the lectern, burned the book in a lava pool. And that night, I left the door open, and I still heard the doorknob rattle. From that day on, the game wasn't peaceful anymore. I wasn't just playing Minecraft. I was watching it, studying it. Every tree line, every ambient cave noise, every misplaced block. I tore apart every part of my world I didn't build myself, and still I found things that didn't belong. Signs with single letters, trees cut halfway, furnace fires burning with nothing inside. And then, during one of those long exploration nights, I saw him. He stood at the edge of the woods, right outside my render distance, just barely a shape. Not a mob, not a skeleton, not a zombie. Humanoid. Still. Watching. I stood on the cabin roof and watched back. He didn't move, not even once, until I blinked. And then he was gone. A few days later, I was deep in the mines. I hadn't gone caving in a while, mostly because I didn't want to be underground. I felt safer near the surface, near the cabin, where I could at least see the stars, hear the rain, but I needed redstone. I'd finally decided to start a clock, hoping maybe it would help me track, I don't know, activity, cycles, something. That's when I noticed a pickaxe in my inventory. Diamond, full durability, unenchanted. But here's the thing, I only ever made 1 diamond pickaxe in this world, and it was enchanted with efficiency 3. I kept it in an item frame above my bed. I never used it unless I was going to the Nether. So where did this come from? I opened my inventory screen and hovered over it. It had no name, no crafted by line. It wasn't dropped. It didn't show any use. It was just there. I checked the world save file. Still single player, but now I wasn't sure it ever had been. I woke up one Minecraft morning to find a path. It hadn't been there before. It wasn't a natural dirt trail from walking over grass or one I absent-mindedly dug out with a shovel. It was clean, crafted, alternating gravel and cobblestone blocks like someone had planned the design. It began just beyond my cabin's back fence and wove its way through the forest, curving between birch trunks and over a small hill. At first, I thought maybe I'd forgotten building it. Maybe I'd started a landscaping project weeks ago and got distracted. But it wasn't just a path. There were lanterns. They hung from fences, spaced evenly every 5 blocks. I counted, exactly 5 blocks apart, every single time. That's not something you forget building. I followed the trail. It twisted farther than I expected, eventually opening to a clearing I'd never visited, and in the center, a small stone pedestal, just 1 block tall. with a single carved pumpkin placed on top. When I approached, it popped off the pedestal. No redstone, no piston, just fell, like it didn't want to be seen. I left the clearing and ran back to the cabin. When I turned around to look back, the path was gone. The next time I logged in, I didn't move. I just stood in the cabin watching the screen, listening. Nothing happened for 5 in-game minutes, 10, 15. Then came the sound, the soft, unmistakable creak of a chest being opened, but it wasn't mine. I stepped outside, scanning the forest edge. There, tucked under a spruce tree, was a chest I didn't place. No torches around it, no pressure plate, just a single chest, sitting in the dirt, like it had always been there. I approached carefully, sawed out and opened it. Inside was only one item, a piece of paper. I hovered over it. "You forgot to say thank you." I slammed the chest shut and destroyed it, dug down 3 blocks, filled it with lava, and tossed the paper in. But that night, when I returned to the cabin, another chest sat on the front porch. Inside was bread, just like before. And this time, no note. Just a single name tag, blank. Paranoia took over. I crafted traps. Nothing fancy, just old school stuff. Pressure plates linked to dispensers, pitfalls masked with carpets and string. I even set up a tripwire across my main hallway that would drop gravel from above. All of it was meant to catch whoever, or whatever, was stalking me. I left the world and logged out that night feeling prepared, confident even. When I logged back in the next day, the traps were still there, but they'd been disarmed. The dispensers were empty. The gravel in the ceiling had been replaced with smooth stone, and the tripwire hooks were broken clean off, like someone surgically removed them without setting them off. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the message spelled out in item frames on the cabin wall. Why? Just that, nothing else, no signs, no sounds, no mobs nearby. Just a question, and it felt directed at me. I don't know how else to say this except to say it plainly. My cabin is breathing. Not literally, obviously, not with lungs or a pulse, but with something invisible. A pressure, a presence. When I walk through the front door now, I feel it. Like the walls know I'm there. Like they've been waiting. The floorboards creak in patterns that don't match my steps. The windows frost over at night even though it's not snowing. One night I stood perfectly still on the cabin's second floor near the bookshelf nook. No mobs nearby, no weather, just silence. And then a door closed. I sprinted downstairs. Nothing. Both doors wide open. I checked the logs. No redstone events, no entities. Still, I know what I heard. And it wasn't the wind. It was the sound of a door closing. From the inside, I was digging through my screenshots folder, not because I needed one, but because I had a feeling. And sure enough, there was a new screenshot saved, one I never remembered taking. It was of the F3 debug screen. The image showed a strange location, coordinates deep into negative values, far from my cabin. I'd never traveled there, never seen this biome, but something had taken that screenshot. I don't even use the F3 screen often unless I'm hunting strongholds or syncing a map. Yet here it was. Negative 958, 64, negative 1042. It felt too intentional to ignore, so I geared up, full diamond, enchanted bow, everything. I traveled for 2 in-game days to reach those coordinates, past terrain I didn't remember generating. And when I arrived, it was a cave, empty, hollowed out, but perfectly square, lit with glowstone, not torches. At the center was an empty frame on the wall, and directly beneath it, a single sign. Place the photo. But I didn't have a photo. When I returned to my cabin, a map had been placed in an item frame on the wall I swore I left blank. The map showed that exact room, with me inside it. I started leaving traps again, but more subtle this time. Torches I knew I wouldn't place, slight wear on tools I wouldn't use, objects arranged just so. And then, one morning, I noticed smoke coming from the forest. A campfire, but when I followed the trail, I found only the embers. The fire had burned out, but not naturally. The wood was pristine, no charcoal, no ash, just a ring of stone and a cold campfire that had clearly never been lit in survival mode. There were items scattered around it, cooked cod, 2 logs, and a compass, one that spun wildly even in the overworld. When I picked it up, it pointed not to spawn, but directly behind me. And when I turned around, something darted behind a tree, too tall to be a skeleton, too quick to be a villager. And when I sprinted after it, all I found was a dirt path, exactly 5 blocks wide. I tried to ignore it. I kept mining, kept building. I even tried to go to the Nether, thinking maybe a new dimension would break the cycle, reset whatever glitch I was trapped in. But when I returned from the Nether, the cabin had changed. Subtly, but definitely changed. The bookshelves were taller. The clock I crafted was mounted perfectly in a new item frame above the fireplace, and the fireplace itself had been converted from cobblestone to brick. But here's the thing. I never found clay. I never smelted brick. Someone was remodeling my base, and the worst part? It looked better, cleaner, more symmetrical. Whoever was sharing this world with me had taste. I'd never built an attic. But one night, I heard footsteps above the ceiling. I climbed onto the roof and broke through a section of planks, expecting air or sky or mobs. Instead, I found a new room. Just a small crawl space with 1 torch and a trail of redstone dust running in a circle. Nothing else. No levers, no notes, no signs. Just redstone. I broke a piece and watched as the dust glitched, blinking out, then reappearing a second later, as if something placed it back. I broke it again. This time, the dust didn't come back. But when I turned around to leave, the torch had moved to the opposite side of the attic, and I hadn't heard a thing. I don't know when it started, but I started seeing paintings in my cabin I didn't place. At first, I thought they were mine. You know, the random ones. Kebab, skull on fire, the void. But the more I looked at them, the more I realized something was off. They were similar, but not the same. One painting had a figure with white eyes, standing in a cabin just like mine. Another showed a mountain range, but if you looked closely, there was a tiny figure standing at the top, staring down. And one was just black. Completely black. No texture, no detail, like someone had replaced the asset file. I tried breaking them, but they'd always return, always in different spots, and always at night. One night, while sorting my inventory, I saw a message flash across the screen. Not a system message, just a white text overlay, like it was part of the HUD. Log out now. It stayed for maybe a second, then vanished. No keybind triggered it, no mod installed, nothing in the logs, but the message didn't feel like a warning. It felt like a threat, like he didn't want me here anymore. But this is my world. I built it, didn't I? I was digging through the world save folders, not out of boredom, but desperation. I wanted proof, something tangible that could explain what was happening. When I opened the player data folder, I found mine, of course, but beside it, another file, a UUID I didn't recognize, no name, no history, just a string of numbers and letters. I opened it with NBT Explorer. Inventory, empty. Health, full. Position, near my cabin. It had existed, it had moved, but not recently. The last login was the same time I was online. That's not possible. In single player, there should only ever be one player file. Just one, unless someone or something was logging in under a hidden name, or maybe not logging in at all. Maybe it was always there. There's a river about 100 blocks from my base that cuts the forest clean in 2. I usually avoid it. It's a pain to cross without a boat. But something drew me to it that morning. The trees felt different, too symmetrical, too still. I crossed, and followed a trail I swear wasn't there the day before. And on the other side I found it, a cabin, an exact replica of mine. Same layout, same materials, same everything, except for one thing. Inside, there were no torches, no beds, no chests, just signs lining the walls. Every single one of them said the same thing: I watch when you don't. I kept trying to explain it away. Mod glitch, corrupted seed, some freak memory issue, but the truth kept clawing back. The feeling that something was inside the world with me, not a player, not a mob, something that learned how I play. Then one night I saw it. I was in my mine placing rails when I heard footsteps coming from the side tunnel. I backed up into the shadows and watched, expecting a zombie or skeleton to wander in. But what I saw, it was me. Not just my skin, me, my gear, my walk pattern, my jump timing. But it wasn't a mirror. It didn't follow me. It walked past me, didn't look, didn't speak, just walked right by and vanished down the hall like it had somewhere to be. And the torch it placed glowed a little too white. I snapped. That night, I lit a flint and steel and set the entire cabin ablaze. Every oak log, every spruce stair, every wool bed. I watched it burn down to the last pixel and swore I'd rebuild somewhere far away, start fresh, clear the curse. And for a while, I felt relief. I built a boat, sailed downriver, and made camp on a rocky hill far from everything. I crafted a new pickaxe, slept under the stars. But the next morning when I woke up, the cabin was back, right where I logged off, unburned, unchanged, waiting. There was a book on the doorstep, written in cursive text. No author name. Every page was a conversation. My name was on the left, the right side, blank. Like someone had been replying, but the ink never took until the last page. Scrawled diagonally, shaky like it had been written in haste. We built this together. Why are you pretending you don't remember? I dropped the book. When I picked it up again, the pages were blank. I dug straight down under my cabin, not out of panic, but pure defiance. I needed to know if something was under it, causing all of this. After about 30 blocks, I broke into a perfect square room. Stone bricks, 4 walls, one red bed in the middle, and surrounding it, paintings, all black, no exit, no light. And when I turned to pillar back up, my blocks wouldn't place. The ceiling sealed itself behind me. I broke one and heard a laugh. Minecraft doesn't have a laugh sound, at least not for players. I exited the game, went to the world list, deleted the save. I watched it vanish from the menu. Then I reopened Minecraft and started a fresh new world, new seed, new name. I spawned on a beach instead of a forest. No cabin, no mobs, nothing familiar, until night fell, and on the hill behind me, I saw torches in a perfect 5-block pattern. I was on the title screen, just the usual music, usual splash text. But something was off. I couldn't place it at first. Then I noticed the background terrain. It wasn't the usual panorama. It was my cabin, in real time, and the door was open. I didn't open it. I never play multiplayer. I don't join public servers, and I've never opened my world to LAN. But one day when I paused the game, I saw something new at the top of the screen. Connected to... just that. No IP, no port. 4 question marks. I unpaused and everything looked normal. But the time of day wasn't changing. The sun was stuck in mid-sky. No mobs spawned, no hunger loss. It was like I'd been pulled into a frozen copy of my own world. I tried saving and quitting, but the button didn't work. I was stuck. And then the chat opened on its own. Then the sun started moving backwards. I don't know why it got to me so much. It's just an armor stand, right? A decorative item, a detail piece. But this one was different. It appeared inside my cabin one morning, facing the door, fully geared in netherite. No name tag. Arms down. At first I thought I'd accidentally placed it, or maybe I'd been testing a design and forgot. But then I walked past it, and I could have sworn its head turned just slightly as I passed. I broke it. That night another one appeared, in the exact same spot. But this time, the gear was enchanted. I stopped sleeping in the game, not because of phantoms, but because of what I started seeing when I did. When I'd lie down in the bed and the screen would slowly fade, I started noticing outlines, shapes, not dreams, not visions, not the end, just pitch blackness and eyes, white dots in the void, watching. Sometimes there were 2, sometimes 4, once I counted 8. When I tried to wake up early, the game lagged, froze, refused. One night I didn't wake up at all. I had to force close the game. When I came back, my spawn point had moved to the underground room. I thought maybe I could end it by digging out of bounds. Maybe if I hit the bottom of the world and kept falling, I could escape. So I crafted the tools, bypassed the lava, and dug through bedrock using commands. Yes, I gave up and turned cheats on. But below bedrock was more bedrock. And below that, obsidian, miles of it. And on one block, dead center in a vast obsidian plain, was a sign, "There is no outside." I logged out for a week. I don't use texture packs, vanilla is my comfort zone. But one day when I loaded up the game, everything looked slightly different. The sky was dimmer, the oak wood had a purplish tint, the water had no ripple. And when I opened a chest, instead of the usual thud, it whispered. Not a sound effect, a whisper. My name. That night I dreamed of the cabin, not in blocks or pixels, but real. Wood grain, cold wind, the smell of wet stone and fire smoke, and I wasn't alone. There was someone standing by the window, back turned, watching the forest. When I called out, they didn't move, but when I stepped forward, they turned, and it was me. Not blocky, not animated, me. Except the eyes were all white. The redstone clock I built to track strange events began glitching. It ticked in double time, then slowed, then reversed. I rebuilt it with different components. It broke again. I used command blocks to automate it. They all triggered at once and exploded. No command block should explode in survival. And when the dust cleared, the explosion had carved my name into the terrain, perfectly shaped, 5 blocks tall. I keep a text file with notes on this world, a sort of change log, every build, every structure. I don't trust my memory anymore. One day I opened the file and there was a new entry, no timestamp, just text. Entry 47, he's starting to believe it's real. I scrolled down. Entry 48 was already written. Entry 48, he's reading this. I deleted the file. The next day it came back. It walked right up to me, green, silent, glowing in the moonlight. And then, nothing. No hiss, no boom, just stared. And when I swung my sword, it vanished in a puff of black smoke. Not green, black. And I heard a door open somewhere. But there were no doors nearby. I logged in and my character was different. Still my name, still my world. But my skin, white eyes, no pupils, same outfit, just wrong. I checked the files. The custom skin hadn't changed, nothing had been edited, but in-game I couldn't change it back, even using commands. And when I looked in a third-person mirror made of glass and shaders, my reflection grinned before I did. I went back to the Nether, thinking maybe the entity wouldn't follow me across dimensions. But when I stepped through the portal, the first thing I saw was a dirt sign in the middle of the Crimson Forest. You left me behind. I broke it immediately, but when I turned around, the portal was gone. In its place was a row of armor stands, each holding a carved pumpkin and facing me, 12 of them. I ran. I didn't stop until I was 300 blocks out, and there, in the lava lake reflection, I saw another portal light up behind me, without flint and steel. I found a plains village far from my base. I thought maybe, just maybe, the mechanics would behave normally out there. Villagers, golems, wheat farms. Nothing spooky. They all acted as expected, except one. A cleric. He stood inside his house and didn't move. Never left, never slept, never blinked. When I tried to trade with him, his GUI wouldn't open. Instead, my chat filled with a single message. "You're not the only one with emeralds." I destroyed his workstation. He didn't change profession. And that night, back at the cabin, there was a brewing stand placed on my bed. I was fishing to calm down, just something slow, quiet, normal. It always helped. But the bobber never dipped. Instead, it drifted further out, kept pulling away from me like it was being dragged. Eventually, the string stretched impossibly far, farther than render distance. I reeled it in. The line didn't move. Then my screen flashed white for a second, like lightning. In my hotbar, a name tag. No text, just custom name. And when I hovered over it, the tooltip read, "You caught him." I noticed the shadows first. They stretched the wrong way, moved backward. The moon rose before the sun had finished setting. Then I checked the clock in my item frame. The hand ticked counterclockwise. I watched the sun rise in the west and vanish into the east. Crops ungrew, torches unlit. A chest I had opened shut itself, and the items inside disappeared, like I had never crafted them at all. And when I looked up at the sky, the stars spelled out letters for just a moment. "You're rewinding too far." Minecraft doors don't lock, but when I tried to enter the cabin, it wouldn't open. No redstone, no plug-in, no tripwire. I broke the door and placed another. Still wouldn't open. I tried breaking the walls. The blocks became unbreakable. So I circled the house, hoping to glitch my way in. That's when I noticed the figure standing in my window, my skin, my armor, but the eyes were completely black. And the figure waved, slowly, mockingly. When I opened my inventory to craft a piston, everything had been moved, not stolen, just rearranged. Perfect rows of items sorted by color. Every stack exactly 64. Tools aligned like someone had spent time organizing it all. I never played like that. And in the corner of my inventory, one slot had a single oak button. When I hovered over it, the name read, "Do not press." So I threw it out. When I turned around, there were dozens of oak buttons placed on the cabin floor, all facing inward. I took a boat out to sea, thinking maybe distance would help, just paddle and go. After what felt like an hour of rowing, I saw something floating just beneath the water, sea lanterns, arranged in block letters across the ocean floor. When I dove down, I read it clearly. "You can leave, but you're still here." And when I surfaced, the boat was gone. In its place floated a sign. "Your turn." I built a small crop farm far from the cabin. New soil, new area, tried to start over. But as the wheat grew, I noticed something wrong with the texture. At first I thought it was a glitch, missing pixels maybe, but as the crops matured, their heads began to resemble faces, blocky, distorted, like villager models with melted features. One of them looked like me. I burned the whole field, and when the fire cleared, only the one that looked like me remained, completely untouched. I never built one, never had a reason to. But when I spawned after falling into lava, I was standing in a graveyard behind my cabin. Rows of headstones, all unnamed, except the last one. "Here lies player name." And when I hovered over it, the death message said, "Cause staying too long." I crafted signs and started writing messages, desperate for contact. "Who are you? Why me? What do you want?" I left them outside my base, hoping for nothing really, just proof that I wasn't losing my mind. The next day, each sign had been updated. "Who are you? You invited me. Why me? You looked too closely. What do you want? Company." And one more was placed beside them, freshly written, "Don't stop playing. Beds can't just disappear, but mine did. I logged in and it wasn't there, not broken, not dropped, just gone." And in its place was an empty item frame. When I placed another bed down, the frame updated on its own, now holding a red wool block. I slept anyway, hoping it would reset something. That night, the game crashed. When I rebooted, my spawn point was reset to the mirror cabin. I found a jukebox on the dock outside my cabin. One disc inside. 13. The cursed one. But when I played it, it was different. Same crackle, same static, but layered under it was a second sound. A voice, whispering, repeating the same phrase, "Don't look at the light." I waited until morning and broke the jukebox. It dropped nothing. I deleted the world. Again, cleared the saves, wiped the .minecraft folder, then reinstalled everything from scratch. New launcher, new files, made a new world, spawned in a desert, no trees, no mobs, but in my hotbar was a book, no title. When I opened it, only one line: "This is still the same world." One morning there was a door behind my cabin that hadn't been there before. Iron, no button, no pressure plate, just a door, sealed tight. I crafted a lever, placed it and opened it slowly. Behind it was a long hallway, stone brick walls, lanterns flickering dimly. At the end was a mirror, not glass, a mirror. I approached, expecting to see myself, but the figure inside didn't move, it just stood there, then it smiled. I returned to the title screen after taking a break, scrolled to my worlds. The world name had changed. Where once it had said Cabin Survival now read I was never playing alone, and the world icon was no longer the plains biome I spawned in, it was my cabin. At night and in the window, a figure stood behind the glass, smiling. Section 51, the achievement that wasn't mine. When I logged in the next day, a toast notification popped up. Advancement made, the real player. But I hadn't done anything. No crafting, no building, no new mobs encountered. It just appeared. I checked the advancements tab. There was a new category at the bottom, grey and unlabeled. It only had one icon, an eye. Hovering over it gave no tooltip. Clicking it froze the game, and when it resumed, the sun had already set and my spawn point had changed again. Back to the mirror cabin. While mining for iron, I stumbled across a small pocket cave, empty save for one block of stone that looked wrong, slightly darker, carved maybe, like a texture that didn't belong. When I broke it, it dropped nothing, but behind it was a sign embedded in the wall, facing inward. I mined toward it, revealing more signs hidden behind natural stone. Each one said the same thing: "You're digging in the wrong direction." I turned around and found that my torches had all gone out. Inside the cabin, I found a new door. That's not unusual, except for the fact that it was placed in the center of a wall with no adjacent room, no floor or hallway behind it, just wood planks. When I opened it, the game stuttered. And beyond it was not blackness, but a frozen image of myself. Not a reflection, an exact moment from earlier in the game. Me standing by the furnace crafting bread, frozen, looping, watching me. I always liked Minecraft's rain. Calming white noise. But this time, the rain came with no sound, just a sudden darkness, as if someone flicked off the sky. I stepped outside and looked up. The rain was falling, upward. The drops rose toward the clouds, phasing through them. And then they reversed, slamming down like arrows. One hit my shield and bounced with a metallic clang. Not water, glass. I stayed inside until morning. A creeper was standing outside my cabin for 3 full days. Never moved, never despawned, didn't burn in daylight. Its head slowly followed me as I moved between windows, but it never took a step. Eventually, I decided to approach it, sword drawn. I hit it once. It shattered into item frames, each one displaying a part of my inventory, things I hadn't crafted yet. As I walked through the forest near my cabin, the leaves started spinning, literally spinning, textures rotating on their axis like a disc. The sky began to flicker between day and night, too fast for the clock to track. Chunks loaded in, then unloaded, then reloaded again, but mirrored. I stood still and watched the world fold itself inside out. When it stopped, I was back in the cabin, standing in bed, But I didn't remember going to sleep. I never tamed a wolf in this world. But when I woke up one morning, a white-collared dog was sitting at the foot of my bed. Its name, Remember Me. I didn't name it. I didn't tame it. But it followed me everywhere. And every time I tried to sit it down, it whined, louder than usual, sharper. Finally, I blocked it in a cobblestone cage and walked away. When I came back, the cage was empty, and on the wall was a new painting, a dog staring at a broken leash. I ran the /data get entity command out of desperation. I wanted to see if anything unusual was hiding. Lines and lines of normal entities, zombies, skeletons, me. But at the bottom there was one with no UID, no name, just entity.minecraft.player ghost. And its coordinates inside the cabin, exactly where I was standing. I replanted my sugarcane farm from scratch, but as it grew, I noticed the pattern was too perfect. From above, it spelled something. I flew up with elytra and saw it clearly, a QR code formed by green and water. I screenshotted it, scanned it with my phone. It redirected to a blank web page with a single word, why. This time I didn't even touch the files, but when I returned to the world selection screen, the name had updated once more. It now read, You're Still Here. No capital letters, just that. And the thumbnail preview was black, not nighttime, black, as if no chunks were loading. I opened it anyway. Everything looked normal, except the cabin door was missing. One of the villagers in a nearby plains village spawned wearing a player head, my player head. No joke. I thought it was a glitch at first, maybe a data pack issue, but when I killed him, the head dropped. When I placed it, the eyes blinked. No redstone, no animation file, it just blinked, and then turned to face the cabin. I wrote something on a sign. I built this. A simple statement. When I logged in the next day, it now read, We built this. I rewrote it, broke the sign, burned it. But it always came back. No matter what I wrote, it rewrote itself. Eventually I placed one with no text. The next morning it simply said, Hello again. I tried starting over. New base, far from spawn, completely underground. After days of mining, I finally surfaced to gather wood. But when I reached the surface, the sky was different. Pale red, like the nether fog. And floating above the forest was my cabin, suspended in the air by invisible blocks, its windows glowing, and in one of them a figure waved. I crafted a compass just to feel normal again, but instead of pointing towards spawn, the needle spun slowly in place. Then it rotated on a different axis, upward, as if pointing to the sky. I followed it, built a scaffold to world height. At the top, a floating item frame. Inside, another compass, and it pointed straight down. I built a stronghold from scratch. I wanted to escape, to end it once and for all. Maybe the end would reset everything. I activated the portal, heart racing, jumped in, heart. But I didn't spawn on obsidian. I spawned in my cabin. No dragon, no towers, just the cabin. Perfect, untouched. And on my bed, a sign. You're never leaving, but thank you for trying. When I logged into the launcher, I saw an error I'd never seen before. Username already in use. I thought it was a glitch, maybe a server hiccup, but when I finally got into the game, something had changed. In the player list, my name was there, twice, one with my usual skin, and one in full iron armor, motionless. Hovering near my cabin on the map, I kicked the second one. They didn't leave. I lit a campfire outside the cabin, just trying to pretend things were still normal. I stood there for a while, watching the smoke spiral upward. Then I heard it, soft murmuring. It wasn't music, it wasn't ambience. It was voices, whispering through the crackling wood. They weren't saying words, just fragments of memories. Crafting sounds, hurt grunts, rain pings on a roof. And then I heard something unmistakable. A door creaking open, right behind me. I tried moving my bed to a new base. I broke the original one, set the new one down, slept. The next time I died, I didn't respawn there. I respawned standing on the roof of the cabin, at night, in the rain. And the door was open, but the lights inside were off, and the chat said, "Spawn point was already claimed." While mining redstone deep underground, I noticed one vein was brighter than usual, like it was glowing too much. I hit it with my pickaxe. Instead of the usual redstone dust, a strange particle effect spilled out, like dripping liquid, and then I heard it, a faint heartbeat. I backed away, dug around it. It pulsed in the dark. I logged out. When I came back, a trail of redstone dust had been placed from that cave all the way to my cabin. No matter how far I travel, no matter how many times I destroy it, the cabin always comes back. I blew it up with TNT. I set it ablaze. I built a massive quarry and dropped it into the void using commands. And yet it returns exactly as it was, even with items inside the chests that I never placed. One day I spawned, and it was already mid-renovation. Walls half-built, blocks hovering in place like an invisible player was still working on it. I watched it finish itself, brick by brick. I crafted a regular clock. It stayed stuck at dusk. I made another. It stayed stuck at dawn. I placed them both in item frames. Neither moved. No matter how long I waited, no matter how many Minecraft days passed, the hands didn't budge. Until one night, at exactly midnight, they both spun wildly, and then stopped again, pointing straight up. And I heard someone whisper, "That was your chance." There was never a basement. But one day I noticed a trapdoor behind the fireplace. It wasn't there before. I opened it. A ladder led down into darkness. I followed it. The walls were lined with item frames. Each one held something from my past builds. Tools, blocks, armor pieces I hadn't used in weeks. At the far end, a large painting. It depicted me, sleeping in the cabin, and behind the painting, another trapdoor, sealed. I was sorting items when I heard something through my headphones. A voice, clear, quiet, calm, but it wasn't a Minecraft sound, it was my voice. A clip of me from one of my old YouTube uploads, narrating a story. But I wasn't recording. I hadn't uploaded anything recently, and then I heard it again in reverse, the story being told backward, and after a pause, one line forward again. "You told this story, now you're in it." I found a lectern beside my bed. It held a written book titled The Final Entry. I opened it. Every page was blank. I clicked through them anyway, all 50. The moment I reached the last page, the screen flashed white, and suddenly all the text appeared at once. Every page said the same thing. "You've been writing this whole time." I had a dream I was back in my cabin, but I wasn't controlling anything. I was inside it, really inside it. I could feel the wooden floor under my feet, the warmth from the fireplace, the weight of the sword on my back. But I couldn't move. I could only see out the window, and standing outside was a player, staring in, wearing my skin. And behind them, in the distance, the cabin, again, a second one. I never crafted a note block in this world. But when I returned from mining, one was playing softly by the front door, no redstone attached, no lever, just playing a slow, broken version of the Minecraft theme. And it didn't stop. I broke it. The sound kept playing, and when I muted my game, it still played. One night I looked up at the skybox. The stars seemed to form a shape, circular, layered, like an eye staring back. I turned my camera away. When I looked back, the clouds had cleared completely. No moon, no sun, no stars, just the eye. And then the screen blinked. Not lag, not FPS, a blink. In single player, there's no player list, but when I pressed tab out of habit, it opened. 2 names, mine and cabin guest 01. No ping bar, no skin, no hover details. I kicked the world, reloaded. They were still there, and when I looked out the window, the door was open. I checked the world seed for the first time since starting the game. It used to be random. Now it was 133713371337. I re-rolled the seed, created a test world with the same number. It generated my cabin, automatically, with all my old items in the same chests. Back in the cabin, I found a note written on a birch sign sitting on my bed. It simply said, "Thanks for staying this long." When I broke it, the game saved automatically, no prompt, no exit, and in the top right corner, above the heart bar, a blinking eye icon appeared, then vanished. I pressed Eskin and tried quitting to title. Nothing happened. Alt plus F4, no response. Task Manager couldn't close it. Even force shutdown lagged. The game was running, but I wasn't in control anymore. My player moved on its own, turned, stepped toward the cabin window, and stared out. I wasn't touching anything. The view lingered for a long moment. Then my character looked up at the eye in the sky and whispered, "He's still watching." In the settings menu, I noticed something new, a keybind labeled Acknowledge Presence, set to Unbound. When I tried to assign a key, the game froze for just a second. Then auto-assigned it to the spacebar. Now every time I jumped in-game, chat would display, "You acknowledged him." I didn't know who him was until I stopped jumping altogether, and the game wrote, "You're ignoring me now?" I hadn't touched the fireplace trapdoor since discovering it, but something told me to check again. When I climbed down, the ladder was longer, much longer. I descended for minutes, 10, maybe more. At the bottom, a room made of crying obsidian, walls pulsing faintly, and in the center, another player model, still lifeless, wearing my exact gear from the first day I spawned. Above it floated a sign, "Day 1 never ended." The world started breaking itself. Chunks began vanishing, clean cuts in the terrain, like someone was selectively deleting the world while I was still inside it. Mountains gone, forests reduced to void. The cabin was the only thing untouched. It now stood alone on a floating island, and from its roof I could see the world falling apart in all directions, like the game was removing everything I didn't look at directly, preserving only what I feared. I don't know where they came from, but one morning, a perfect line of Endermen stood at the forest's edge, all facing the cabin, 20 blocks apart, silent, still, and behind them, snow began to fall, even though it wasn't a snow biome, and for the first time they all tilted their heads at once, not toward me, toward the sky. I went through every room in the cabin, tore down every painting, placed new ones. They all came back, as versions of my skin, some smiling, some frowning, one crying. But the one above the bed, that one blinked. I checked my game files. Inside my saves folder, the world name had changed again. Now it read, "Stop checking." Inside, a new .txt file had appeared, readme.txt. It contained a single line, "We remember everything you build." I deleted it. It came back, same name. This time it said, "We remember everything you break." I visited a village I hadn't been to in weeks. All the villagers had converged in the center, surrounding the bell. None moved, none traded, none slept. And then they started humming, in sync, low, pulsing tones, like a ritual. Then all turned at once, slowly. Every one of them looked at me, and the bell rang on its own. I set fire to the cabin again. It burned, fully, turned to ash. I walked away for hours. When I returned, it was still burning, but untouched. Logs still intact, furniture unscorched, an eternal flame. And the fire made no sound, just silent, flickering. At the center of the living room, a sign read, "This place remembers you." I built a new house underground. Sealed it with obsidian, no windows, no doors, total isolation. And still, at random moments, I'd hear doors open, footsteps, creaking floors. Then one day, I heard something louder, a second heartbeat, not my own. I tunneled upwards straight through bedrock and broke into the old cabin again. Same location, same building, but this time I didn't build it. A creeper exploded while I was AFK. I should have died, but the screen stayed. I was frozen, heart bar empty, but alive. And in the corner, a message appeared, "Death denied. You're still needed." And then the creeper's model rose from the ground, walked away on 2 legs. In the forest, I stumbled on something I hadn't seen in days. The door. The first one, the one I found behind my cabin so long ago, now freestanding in the middle of the woods. No building around it, no redstone, no blocks, just a single iron door. I opened it, and on the other side was my real desktop, frozen on the Minecraft launcher. And then it slammed shut behind me. The in-game chat began typing on its own again. No commands, no keystrokes, just slow, deliberate letters. "Why do you keep leaving? This is where you live now. They won't believe you anyway." I disabled chat in settings. It still typed. I woke up one morning and my game was already open. Cabin in view, campfire lit, moon high, no crash report, no session timeout, no memory of launching the game, and my character was standing in the same spot I always leave him, facing the mirror. One last thing. That painting I told you about, the one that acted like a mirror, it doesn't reflect the cabin anymore. Now it shows my actual room, not a Minecraft room, my desk, my bed, and tonight as I looked at it, I saw something standing behind me. I crafted a fresh locator map, not a copy, not zoomed, fresh paper, new compass. My goal was simple, mark the cabin's position once and for all. I walked back and forth across the area for several in-game days, letting the pixels fill in around me. Forest, river, mountains. My build coordinates were correct, the terrain matched, the biomes made sense. But the cabin wasn't there. The spot where it stood, the same one I had returned to over and over, was just grass on the map, an empty patch. I placed the map in an item frame, hung it above the cabin door, and stared at it. Nothing. Then I turned around to leave the house. And for just a moment, barely longer than a frame, I saw my player marker disappear, then reappear, and when I looked at the map again, the cabin's icon had been drawn, but upside down. I was recording gameplay, not narrating, just capturing footage, no mic input, no commentary. When I played it back, I heard breathing layered under the ambient music. Then came my voice, not like a past video, not like I had accidentally left the mic on. It was me, saying things I've never said. He sees everything you craft. Don't go near the trapdoor. Stop pressing escape. Each line perfectly timed with my movements in-game, anticipating what I was about to do, not reacting, predicting. And the final line, spoken just as I ended the recording, "This isn't your world anymore." I had been playing for about 20 minutes, or so I thought. When I glanced at the wall clock in my room, 4 hours had passed. My phone showed missed calls. My computer browser had dozens of open tabs I didn't remember clicking. Windows Explorer had screenshots I never took, frames from inside the game. But not from my perspective. They were from outside the cabin, looking in, as if someone or something was watching me through my own character. I turned back to the Minecraft screen. The game had paused itself. And in the pause menu, where game menu should be, it said, "Welcome back." Into one day, I opened the launcher and saw a second world file. No name, just blank space. The thumbnail was my cabin, but night vision bright. All the lights were on. I clicked it out of morbid curiosity, spawned in instantly. It wasn't a new world. It was my current world, but everything was frozen. The mobs didn't move, the clocks didn't tick. Even the leaves were locked mid-animation. I entered the cabin, and there, sitting in my usual chair by the fire, was my character, idle, motionless, hands folded, staring at me. I walked around them. They didn't blink. I left the cabin, and their head turned toward the door after I stepped out. That version of me is still sitting there, even now. I decided to end it, deleted the game, removed the launcher, purged the folders, the backups, the autosaves, everything, then wiped the hard drive just in case. Switched PCs entirely, fresh install, no Minecraft. I didn't re-download it, didn't log in. But a few nights later, I saw something strange on my desktop, a folder named Cabin. Inside it, a single image file, no extension. Couldn't open it with anything. I renamed it to .png and forced it open. It was a screenshot of my cabin, taken from high above. And in the center, through the roof, visible through a perfectly clipped hole, was my player model, standing perfectly still, looking straight up at the camera, and the file name updated before my eyes, letter by letter. Still here, .png. You made it through the night, or at least you thought you did. If you enjoyed this Minecraft cabin confession, don't forget to hit like, comment your favorite moment, and subscribe for more nightly tales. Got a spooky idea or want to hear your story told next? Drop it in the comments below. Until next time, keep one eye on the trees and don't trust the player behind you. Good night.